Hello students, welcome to my lecture series on reinforced concrete structures. So in this class I am going to discuss about analysis of T-beams. The analysis of any beam means it is a calculation of a moment of resistance, that is moment carrying capacity of that particular beam. The analysis of this T-beam are as similar as your analysis of a rectangular beam. Those things we have already discussed in your previous classes. Right? How we analyze our rectangular beams? So for analyzing a rectangular beam, we have drawn a strain and stress distribution diagrams. From the stress distribution diagram, we have calculated stress parameters, that is called as stress block parameters like depth of neutral axis and total compressive force in compression region and total tensile force in tensile region. By equating the compressive force to tensile force, what we calculated, from that we'll get what is that depth of neutral axis. So based on the depth of neutral axis, we can calculate what is the maximum depth of neutral axis or ultimate limiting depth of neutral axis we have to calculate for given grade of steel. Then we have to compare your actual depth of neutral axis calculated and maximum depth of neutral axis calculated. Based on the relation exists between these two, we can decide what type of a reinforced section it is, whether it is a over reinforced section or under reinforced section or balanced section. The same way we can analyze now the T-beam, which is a part of your flanged beams. So let us start our today's class. What are the outcomes of today's class are, on completion of this class, you will be able to calculate the depth of neutral axis for a flanged beam. Those are T-beams. So what type of beams we are going to analyzing now? T-beam. So you are able to analyze, calculate what are the what is the depth of neutral axis for T-beam. After knowing the depth of neutral axis, then we have to calculate what is the moment of resistance. You know what is the moment of resistance? MR is, right? So you have to calculate a moment resisting capacity of that T-beam for given loading conditions. So these two things you should know after completion of this class. So let us recall what are the things we have discussed in previous classes. In previous classes, we have defined what are the flanged beams are and how these flanged beams are developed. Generally, these flanged beams are two types, L beams and T beams, and T section is possible when if you cast a slab and a beam cast a monolithically. So here the reinforcement or stirrups what you provided in beam, that should be extended into the slab, so that now slab will become integral part of a beam. Then I can say it is a monolithic structure, right? It is possible when it will constructed the slab and beam are casted at the same time with a formwork are erected for this also at the same time, and the concrete will be pouring from bottom of the beam to the top of the slab. And then we have discussed what are the notation to be followed in T-beams. So let us draw what is a T-beam is and what are the component parts. The notation nothing but what are the component parts of a T-beam. So this is what web, I can write it as a BW, that is the width of the web of a T-beam, and this is actual width of the T-beam, right? And this is a depth of the flange. I can generally designate it with a DF, and we have discussed what are the definition of these terms are and what is the definition of these terms are. Those things we have discussed in previous class. And then we have to calculate effective flange width. So for calculation of effective flange width, there are some codal provisions or codal equations are there as per IS 456-2000. Based on that, we have calculated effective flange width. And then effective flange width generally we designate with a B suffix F. What is that? B suffix F. In no case this B suffix X is greater than your actual width of the beam. So always your effective width of the flange is less than actual width of the flange. Those things we have discussed. And also we have discussed about a minimum and maximum reinforcement to be provided in the T-beam. So this also according to the codal provision for minimum reinforcement to be provided is, so that is AS by BW into D is equal to 0.85 by that Fy AS is here in this formula is minimum area of steel reinforcement provided in tension zone. The area what we obtained for steel should not be less than this AS value, which is calculated based on the Codal equation. And the maximum reinforcement to be provided in T-beam is 4% of gross cross-sectional area, that is 0.04 of gross cross-sectional area, that is BW into D. So this should not be greater than this value. Should not, the area of reinforcement provided is should not be greater than this. This is not greater than 4% of BW into D. BW into D is we can term it as a overall gross cross-sectional area of T-beam. Then we have discussed advantages of T-beams. As we know that we are providing a additional concrete area on the top of the beam in the form of flange. So that because our concrete is very strong in compression, so it has a moment resisting capacity more in that particular region, so that we can reduce the depth of our actual beam, and so that because of more moment of resisting capacity of a beam, the maximum deflection what will occur, that will be reduced. So these are the things we have discussed in previous class. Let us start today's class, right? See, for analysis of any beam, it may be a T-beam or a rectangular beam. First, we should know what is the depth of neutral axis is. Let me define what is the neutral axis and how it can be calculated. So, you know that, let me explain about the rectangular section. Suppose it's a rectangular section, right? And it's a rectangular beam, like this we have, and this is what a neutral axis for this beam. So this is NA, and this neutral axis divides our beam into compression zone as well as a tension zone. Above the neutral axis we can call it as a compression zone, below the neutral axis we can call it as a tension zone. So what is the definition of this neutral axis? It is the axis in cross section of a member along which stresses is zero. So along this axis your bending stresses are zero. So that axis is called a neutral axis. So this can be calculated by equating total compressive forces and total tensile forces. Alright, so it is a total compressive force in here, say this is a total compressive force, and this is a total tensile force which is acting in this. Now if we equate this total compressive force C and total tensile force T, then we will get what is the depth of neutral axis. It is in the same case with our T-beam also. So here a T-beam also, based on the neutral axis, we can divide compression zone as well as a tension zone. Suppose your neutral axis lies here. For this beam particular case, above the neutral axis the T-beam is under compression. So this area I can say this compression, this is area under tension. So this also, okay, this case we calculate total compressive force, and for this case also we calculate total tensile force. If I equate these two, we will get what is that depth of actual depth of neutral axis is. Right, this is how we calculate whether it is a rectangular beam or T-beam or any kind of beam. Neutral axis can be calculated by equating total compressive force or acting on the particular section to the total tensile force acting on that particular section. Right, and then we have to calculate the moment of resistance. What is the definition of moment of resistance is? The moment of resistance is the resistance offered by the section due to bending moment, that is external bending moment. So any beam, suppose any beam subjected to a bending load of some W, it will give some bending moment, right? Okay, this it will give some bending moment. So this bending, this is called a bending moment due to externally applied load. That's why I can call it as a external bending moment. Now our beam, it is in a position to offer resistance against this applied bending moment. That resistance is called, the resistance which we get from this beam is called a moment of resistance. Generally that is abbreviated as a MR. Right, you know that moment of resistance for this analysis of T-beam we have to calculate. Okay, and but this moment of resistance in T-beams depends upon position of neutral axis. That means in each area, in each part of the T-beam, your neutral axis lies. Based on that, we can calculate a moment of resistance. Whether it is lying in it is in a flange area or whether it is lying in web area. So based on that, we can calculate what is that moment of resistance. Okay, if as is the case of a rectangular beam, there we have only two zones, compression and tension, and the depth across the depth is uniform throughout the section, so that there is no confusion. Directly straight away we will substitute in the formula and calculated moment of resistance wherever our neutral axis depth is, but that will fall in the section, within the section only. But in the case of a T beams, the width of flange portion is different and width of web portion is different. So the neutral axis, so the moment of resistance will be different. Finally, I can say our neutral axis may lies in flange or may lies in web. The moment of resistance also vary with the variation of position of neutral axis. Based on this, based on the position of neutral axis, there are two cases arises. How many cases arises? Two cases are arises. One is, first case is neutral axis lies within the flange. Say like this, it's a T beam. This is a flange. Now my neutral axis is here. What is this area? Neutral axis is this. So I can say from this, the neutral axis falls in web area, flange area. Then I can calculate the moment of resistance with respect to this neutral axis. The condition and stress distribution will be different with respect to this condition. And another case is the neutral axis within the web area. This is a web. If your neutral axis falls in web area, then how to calculate moment of resistance? Then the variation of stresses are different, so we'll get the moment of resistance also different. Again, this case 2, we have two sub cases, that is 1 and 2. What is the one case? T section is a balanced section. That means here it is a balanced section and it is a singly reinforced section. Right? Though we have the neutral axis and web portion, this T beam will act as a balanced section. When we get the balanced section, when your actual depth of the neutral axis is equal to a limiting depth of neutral axis, that is XU is equal XU max, then you will get a balanced section. So for this case, we have to calculate what is the moment of resistance with respect to this case number 2 and with the sub case 1 in case number 2. And second case may arise in your case number 2, that T section is under reinforced section and neutral axis lies within the web. The neutral axis lies in the web portion only, but your XU is less than XU max. Then we can call it as it is a under reinforced section. For that case also we have to calculate the moment of resistance. Generally these values are depends upon the depth of flange, ratio of depth of flange to the effective depth of the beam. Based on those ratio, these values are moment of resistance values are depends on, right? So let us, in today's class we will discuss about in detail in about case 1. What is the case 1? Neutral axis is within the flange. If the neutral axis lies within the flange region of the T beam, then how it is B waves and what is the stress distribution for this and how to calculate the moment of resistance. Okay, those things we will see in this class. So let us take the first case. Case 1 is a neutral axis lies within the flange. Right. So this is my T beam. So this will be the neutral axis in the T beam. Where it is lying now? It is lying in a flange. So this is a flange portion of a T beam and this is a web portion of a T beam. Right. According to the first case, our neutral axis lies within the flange. So according to this, we have to draw the stress distribution diagram. So it is similar to your rectangular stress distribution diagram. Now the neutral axis is here and right, this is the depth of a beam. You know that as the case of rectangle, and this is the neutral axis, and let me draw the what is the strain diagram here. So this is a straight line and our neutral axis is here it will varies linearly. Sorry, it is a linear one to the centroid of this. See, this is our strain diagram. This is strain in compression, and it is a strain in steel, ET I can say, ES, right? Now, if you see the stress distribution diagram, it will vary in two fashions. Up to some point, it will vary as a parabolic, then it will be a rectangle. So, these things we have discussed when we assumed some assumption for limit state of collapse in flexure condition. For a rectangular beams, right? For rectangular beams, the stress will be varies parabolic from neutral axis to the up to a strain of 0.02. So this is a strain of 0.02 here. Up to this strain, your diagram, stress distribution diagram varies parabolically. From the strain 0.2022 to maximum strain of 0.0035, it will vary a rectangle, right? Say as your flange, your neutral axis is falls in flange region, we know that above the neutral axis we have compression zone and below the neutral axis we have tension zone, right? As we are designing a T beam, it is simply a singly reinforced T beam, or analyzing a singly reinforced T beam. The area below the neutral axis is a tension zone, above that is compression zone. The concrete what we have in this tension zone assumed as a cracked concrete. That means we are assuming that there is no concrete, there is no use of concrete. Though we are providing concrete there, we are assuming that there is a concrete. That's why this T beam is now act as a rectangular beam. So in which way we have calculated moment of resistance for a rectangular beam, same way we have to calculate now moment of resistance for this T beam. Now, so concrete below the neutral axis is assumed to be cracked, and the T beam is treated as a rectangular beam. So width of the beam is df and the depth of that beam is small d. And now these are the stress and strain diagram for this. We know how to calculate a total compressive force as this above the neutral axis a compression zone, so we have a compressive forces, and below the neutral axis we have a tensile force, so that we can get tensile force like this. Okay, the total compressive force, this is here we have compressive force in parabolic region and the compressive force in this rectangular region. If we add together, we will get what is the total compressive force in compression zone, that is Cu 0.36 FCK BF into XU. The derivation of this part we have already discussed in when we are analyzing a singly reinforced rectangular beam. The same case here we are doing, and the total tensile force in this region, the tension region, is Tu equal to 0.87 Fy AST. Here Fy is the yield strength of the steel and AST is the area of tension reinforcement provided, and FCK is the characteristic compressive strength of a concrete, and BF is the effective width of the flange, and this XU is the depth of neutral axis. So this is neutral axis and this is a depth from top fiber of a section to the neutral axis. This is called a depth of neutral axis XU. Clear? So by knowing this, we can analyze or we can calculate the moment of resistance. You know, here this compressive force and tensile force all generate the internal couple, and they are having a equidistance each other. The distance is called a Z, that is a lever arm. That lever arm can be calculated by using this formula, D minus 0.42 XU. Right? Let us calculate now what is the depth of neutral axis. As I already told you, we can calculate the depth of neutral axis by equating total compressive force equal to the total tensile force. So what is the total compressive force are acting? That is 0.36 FCK BF into XU, and tensile force are 0.87 Fy AST. Now same thing, C equal to here 0.36 FCK BF into XU, and tensile force is 0.87 Fy AST. Now what do you want? We want here XU. XU is the depth of your neutral axis. So if we rearrange the term, we'll get the depth of neutral axis XU is equal 0.87 Fy AST by 0.36 FCK into BF. This is how we calculate depth of neutral axis. Then calculate the moment of resistance. So we can calculate the moment of resistance in two ways, either with respect to compression or with respect to tension. The moment of resistance means, so it is a moment means force into perpendicular distance. So we have the force, compressive force, and this is a perpendicular distance. From this we will get what is that moment of resistance is. Another way, we have this is a force and this is a perpendicular distance. From this we can calculate this. So finally the moment of resistance can be defined as, it is a force, compressive force C multiplied by a lever arm Z, that will give the moment of resistance with respect to the compression zone. Then mu is equal to the moment of, or ultimate moment of resistance, 0.36 FCK BF into XU is the total compressive force which is acting in compressive zone, and Z is the lever arm. The lever arm value is D minus 0.42 XU. This is with respect to compression. And you can calculate with respect to tension also, that is M, moment of resistance with respect to tension zone, that is total tensile force multiplied with your lever arm, and total tensile force is 0.87 Fy AST and lever arm is D minus 0.42 XU. So you can use either of these two formulas, will get the same result, same moment of resistance. Okay, so this is how we calculate the moment of resistance for a T-beams when our flange lies within the neutral axis lies within the flange region. So we will discuss little more about this, about the T-beams. The types of problems are come across in the T-beams are two types. Those are analysis problems and design problems. Not only T-beams, if we take any other beam also, generally we have, first we have to analyze that beam and then we have to go for design of that particular beam. But in this particular class, we are sticking to our analysis of a beam. So we will discuss about only analysis problem in this particular class. So let us see the types of problem in T-beams. As I said that there are two types, one is analysis and design problem. Let us see in this class what is the analysis problem is. Again, these analysis problems are categorized as type 1 problems, type 2 problems. The motto of this type 1, type 2 are, you have to calculate ultimately what is the moment of resistance is. What do you have to calculate? You have to calculate the moment of resistance. In type 1 problems, it will give the input data like material properties, sectional properties and area of steel. Then we have to calculate moment of resistance. So you know the material property means what grade of concrete you are using, what type of steel you are using, and then the sectional property means dimension of the that beam will give you, that is BF, DF and effective width of the flange or width of the web and overall depth of the T-beam. Those things will give, and how much area of steel we have to provide also will give as a input. Then we have to calculate moment of resistance. So how to calculate moment of resistance here? Based on this, we have to calculate first what is the XU is, and XU value depends upon what? Your AST and sectional property and material property. After knowing this XU, then we have to calculate a moment of resistance with respect to compression or tension. So, right, this is a type 1 problem. Then type 2 problem, ultimately we have to calculate moment of resistance. Here also they will give material properties like grade of steel and grade of concrete. Section property means the dimension of section will give you, and along with this sectional property will give the span of the beam. That means what is the span L or length of the beam, and area of steel will give you, right? And he asks you to calculate what is the maximum moment of resistance it can bear and what is the load it can be resisted. That maximum load also we have to calculate. Additional thing with respect to type 1 to type 2 is, here additionally we have to calculate what amount of load if you provide, then we will get the maximum moment of resistance. Those things we can calculate with respect to this type 2 problems. So in this class we discuss the numerical problems on this type 1 and type 2. So let us see the first numerical and type 1 problem on with respect to case 1. We are studying or we are discussing in this particular topic, in this particular class, about case 1 only. What is the case 1? Case 1 is what? Your neutral axis falls in the flange of the T-beam. So let us analyze the beam first. First, find the moment of resistance of a T-beam having a web width is 240, effective depth is it is a 400 mm, not 40 mm, and a flange width is 750 mm, and flange thickness is equal to 100 mm. The beam is reinforced with 5 16 mm diameter bars. Use Fe415 M20 grade concrete. Say it is a type 1 problem. In the type 1 problem, what will give? They will give the material properties like what type of material we are using, what is the grade of concrete and grade of steel we are using. So they are giving material properties Fe415 and M20. Then they will give the sectional properties, means dimension of T beams they will give. So this part of the problem will give you what? A sectional property of that. So what is that? Width of, web width of the T beam, and effective depth of the T beam, flange width of the T beam, and flange thickness. These are called sectional property. So after knowing these material properties and sectional properties, what we have to calculate? We have to calculate the moment of resistance. Okay. So this is the simple understanding of problem. So you know how to calculate this moment of resistance. First, anything we have to calculate that actual depth of neutral axis. Then use the moment of resistance formula and calculate the moment of resistance. Very easy thing. Right, let's go for solution. So based on this problem, let us write the input. Say what is that? Width of the flange. Let me draw here the T beam. What is the T beam actually look like with the given dimensions? Say this is the T beam. So this is the BF, effective width of a beam. Say this portion. How much they are given? They are given say 740 mm. What is that? This is equal to 740 mm. Okay. And then thickness of flange. You know what the thickness of flange DF is. So this is a thickness of flange, and it is equal to what? Your thickness of slab. So this is 110 mm. Generally it is designated with a what? DF. And width of the web. So this is a web width, BW generally we can call it as. And what is that dimension given for this? It is a 240 mm. Clear? And he has mentioned that area of steel to be provided in this tension zone. He has given in the problem, it is not given directly what is the area of steel, but is given in terms of number of bars. What is that? 5 16 mm bars. So 5 numbers of 16 mm bars are provided here. 5 16 mm bars are provided as a tension reinforcement. For that, if you calculate, so the area of that, you know, it is a circular cross section. For the circular cross section, we can calculate area of the circle is pi by 4 into diameter square. So same, sorry, diameter square. The same thing you substitute here. Number of bars are 5 and area of the 5 number of bars is pi by 4 into diameter is 16. Altogether we'll get area of steel AST provided in tension zone of a T-beam is 1005.3 mm square. And they are given that material properties, characteristic compressive strength of concrete is 20 Newton for mm square. Fy, the yield strength of the steel is 415 Newton for mm square. So based on this input, we have to calculate the moment of resistance of a T-beam. So let us see. First, whatever the case we have to assume that our neutral axis falls in the flange region. After calculating the actual depth of the neutral axis, and when you comparing this with your thickness of flange, you will be able to know where it is actually falls. So, but first of all, you have to assume the neutral axis falls in flange region. Now, depth of neutral axis can be calculated by equating total compressive force to the total tensile force. So, from this, we already derived this condition XU equal to 0.87 Fy AST by 0.36 FCK into BF. Now, just substitute the values. This is 0.87. Fy is the yield strength of steel. AST the area of tensile reinforcement. This is 0.36. FCK is 20. And BF, the effective width of the flange is, right, 740 mm. So don't confuse that. In problem he has mentioned only width of the flange. he will not give the whenever you not give the actual width of the flange, the given width of the flange is considered as a effective width of the flange. Now if you simplify these, we will get our XU is equal to 68.1 mm. Right? Now let us check our assumption. What you assumed here, neutral axis falls in web. Whether it is exactly falls in flange or web, now we'll decide. So actually DF is 110 mm. So again I will draw here a T-beam, say like that. Sorry, it assumed that a T-beam. Right, this is a 110 mm. This is 110 and your XU is 68.1. That means it is 68 point is somewhere here. So I can say that from this your DF is greater than XU. So our assumption is correct. So where our neutral axis falls? Generally it is falls in flange area. Okay. Now we have to decide what type of section it is. Whether it is an under reinforced section or over reinforced section or balanced section. That will depends upon this XU value and XU max value. Already we have calculated XU. What is XU is? That is 68.1. And now we have to calculate what is the XU max is. According to the IS 456-2000, for Fe415 grade steel, the XU max equal to 0.48 D. This we can get from your code. And D value, effective depth of the beam is given is 400. Then if you calculate this, we will get 192 mm. Now compare your XU max and XU. Your XU is just 68.1 and XU max is 192. So XU max is greater than XU. So I can say our section is under reinforced section. Right. Now next step would be the calculation of moment of resistance. Now the moment of resistance can be calculated with respect to tension, moment of resistance formula, or with respect to tension. This is tension and this is a compression moment of resistance formula. Here I am using this formula for calculating this. Now ME equal to 0.36, FCK is FCK is 20 here, and BF effective width of the flange is 740, and XU is 68.1, and XU is 68.1, and D is what your effective depth of the beam. If you simplify these values, we will get what is that bending moment, that moment of resistance value is. The moment of resistance for this particular problem is 134.95 kilonewton into meter. So this is how we calculate the moment of resistance for a given T-beam. In case of what? When our neutral axis is falls in the flange region. If it falls in web, then the moment of resistance formula will be different. Those things we'll discuss in next class. If our neutral axis will falls in the web region, then how to calculate moment of resistance, that we'll discuss into our next class. Right. So we'll discuss one more problem. Say what is the problem? Here T-beam, a T-beam floor system has 120 mm thick slab supported on a beams. The width of the beam is 300 mm and effective depth is 580 mm. The beam is reinforced with what? 8 bars of 20 mm diameter. Use M20 grade concrete and Fe415 steel. The beam are spaced 3 meters center to center. The beams are spaced 3 meters center to center, and the effective span of a beam is 3.6. So here see whether it is a type 1 problem or type 2 problem. We have to decide. Well, if the type 1 problem is what? It has to give some material properties. Given the material properties, Fe415 is a grade of steel given, and concrete properties M20 grade, and the sectional properties also given. From here to this region is of your sectional properties. What are the sectional properties? Thickness of slab, width of the beam, effective depth of the beam, and area of steel also given. But that directly not given that area of steel, but is given number of bars. From that we can calculate what is the area of steel. So it is compulsory type 1 problem. Okay, and other inputs are given is the center to center distance between the beams are 3 meters and effective span is 3.6. So it is a type 1, and this problem we have to calculate by assuming our neutral axis is false in the flange. So with this problem, let us write the input data. Say the thickness of flange is df 120 mm, but in the problem it is given thickness of slab. As we know that the thickness of flange equal to thickness of slab, and width of the web is 300 mm and effective depth is 580 mm. Effective length is 3.6 meter, that is equal to 3600 mm, and area of steel given, it is 8 bars of 20 mm dia. So 8 into pi by 4 into d square. So d is here 20. So altogether we'll get the area of steel AST provided in the tension zone of a T-beam is 2613, and FCK is 20 Newton for mm square. Fy is 415 Newton for mm square. So if you observe the input data, nowhere you get what is that effective width of the flange is. Without knowing this, we cannot calculate what is the moment of resistance of a beam is. So first of all, for this type of problem, we have to calculate what is the effective width of the flange. So we know the conditions for calculating effective width of the flange. There are two conditions are there. Minimum of the two value will be considered as a effective width of the flange. Those are given by our code IS 456-2000. For calculating the effective width of the flange, as we are assuming it as a monolithic T-beam, because it does not mention anything like isolated like that, so we can assume it as a monolithic T-beam. For the monolithic T-beam, the code has given for calculating effective width of the flange, that is BF equal to L0 by 6 plus BW into 6 into DF. You know what is the BW is and you know what is the DF is. Then what is this L0? L0 is, already we have discussed in our last class, it is a distance between the two zero bending moment points. You know, we will get the zero bending moment point as we are analyzing a simply supported T-beams, right? If a T-beam is subjected to any kind of load, the bending moment diagram will be like this. See, this is like this, and this is support A and support B, right? If you see the bending moment diagram at support A, what is the bending moment? Bending moment is 0. It is support B, what? This is support B. What is the bending moment here? The bending moment is 0. So the distance between this point A and B, I can call it as a L0, and similarly we know the distance between A and B is our effective length given, that is L. So since the beam is simply supported, the distance between the point of zero moments, that is L0 equal to L. So that is 3.6. So 3600 is the L0 for this particular case. So now substitute the values here. So that is L0 by 6, this is 3600 by 6, and BW is the 300, width of the web given, and 6 into DF, and DF is the 120 mm. So if we calculate all together, add together, we'll get that effective width of the flange with respect to Codal formula, that is 1620 mm. This is condition 1. We have one more condition, that it is the effective width of the flange is width of the web plus half of the clear distance of the adjacent beam on either side. So how to calculate this? Clear span of the slab at the left of the beam and right of the beam. See, so for this I will explain with the help of a small sketch here. So this is your floor T-beam floor system. Okay, and right, and this is your T-beam, and these end beams are L beams, right, and these are the middle of the span. So this is span length is L1 and this span is L2. These two are the adjacent spans to your T-beam. So this is your T-beam, adjacent span to your T-beam, and they are given what is the center to center distance between this. What is that value? They are given 3000. Right? For calculating BF with respect to second condition, we should know what is the clear distance of adjacent beams on the either side. So we should know what is this clear distance and what is this clear distance. So you know that width of the flange is center to center distance of this. Now we should know what is this value. So this is L1 by 2, and this is also L1 L2 by 2. This value we should know. But to calculate this L1 and L2, so we should know what is the L1 value and L2 value. But we know the center to center distance between this. In that BW is there. So for calculating this, what we do? So the total is 300. If you deduct this width, this is BW. If we deduct, then we'll get this L1 by 2 plus L2 by 2. So L1 by 2 plus L2 by 2 is what? 3000 minus 300, that equal to 2700. Say this is equal to L1 by 2 plus L2 by 2, that equal to 2700 mm. Right, we know that now we got the clear distance between adjacent beams. So what is that? 2700 mm. In this, half of the portion is in this direction and half of the portion is in this direction. So total we should know BF equal to this value, that is L1 by 2 plus BW plus L1 by 2. L1 by 2 plus BW plus L2 by 2. So BW is here 300 mm, L1 by 2 is 2700 by 2, L2 by 2 is 2700 by 2. We'll get total 3000 mm is the BF. Now compare condition 1 and condition 2. Our condition 1 value is less, that is 1620. So effective width of the flange can be considered as a 1620 mm. So like that we can calculate effective width. So after knowing the effective width, we will assume that the neutral axis falls in flange. So let us, after calculating that value of XU, we should know where it is actually falls. So for calculating depth of neutral axis, we have to equate total compressive force equal to total tensile forces, and that XU equal to 0.87 Fy AST by 0.36 FCK into BF. Now this is 0.87, this is Fy is 415, AST is 2513, and this 0.36 FCK is 20, and BF is, now we have calculated 1620. Then XU value will be 77.8 mm. Now we have to compare whether actually it is falls in flange region or web region. Right? We assume that it will falls in flange region. See whether our assumption is right or wrong. So DF is 120 mm, XU is 77.8 mm. So if DF is greater than XU, so our assumption is correct. Now we have to decide what type of section it is, whether it is an under reinforced section or over reinforced section. So that is depends upon XU max value. There is a limiting depth of neutral axis. It depends upon a grade of steel. For a grade of steel Fe4 and 5, the XU max can be calculated by using this formula, that is 0.48 into D, and D is already given to you in problem, that is 580. After this, calculating the substituting the values of D in this formula, we will get XU max is 278.4 mm. Now compare these two values, XU and XU max. Your XU max is greater than XU, so it can classified as a under reinforced section. Now calculate the moment of resistance. We can calculate moment of resistance with compression or with respect to tension. Here I am calculating the moment of resistance with respect to compression. So they substitute the values 0.36, FCK is 20 here, and BF is effective width of the flange 1620, and XU is 77.8, and effective width of the T-beam is 580, and is 0.42, and XU is 77.8. After knowing this, after substituting all those values, we will get the bending moment is MU equal to 496.61 kilonewton into meter. So I think you observe the difference between our first problem and second problem. What is in the first problem they have given directly what is the effective width of the flanges. In second problem, they are not mentioned what is the effective width of the flange. That effective width we have calculated based on the codal recommendations, and then the remaining procedure is same for problem 1 and problem 2. So these problems, these two problems are related to your type 1 problems. Okay. So next we'll discuss the third problem is a type 2 problem related to case 1. Don't forget that we are discussing only case 1, and now we are going to discuss type 2 problem. See, let's read out the problem. Before that, what the type 2 problem is. What the inputs are given in your type 2 problem? Material properties, sectional properties, area of steel, and load will be given. From that we have to calculate the moment of resistance, or load we have to, safe load we have to calculate. So calculate the maximum uniformly distributed load. What do you have to calculate here? Maximum load we have to calculate. At limit state, the T-beam is carrying including its own weight on the simply supported span of 5 meters. So what is that? A simply supported beam of 5 meters. On that, what is the maximum load it can bear, the uniformly distributed load it can bear, that load we have to calculate, right? And they has given length, span length, and then they are given width of the flange is 1500 mm, thickness of the flange is 100 mm, depth of the CG of tensile steel from top of the flange is 500 mm. So you should know what is the meaning of depth of CG of tensile steel from top of the flange is. It is nothing but a effective depth of the T-beam. So effective depth of the T-beam is defined as from topmost fiber of a flange to the centroid of the center of gravity of the tensile steel. That depth is called effective depth. And width of the web also given. The width of the web is 250 mm. Effective cover is given 40 mm. Once you know the effective depth of the beam and effective cover, you can calculate what the overall depth is. And the area of reinforcement is given directly now, that is 804 mm square, and the material properties are used Fe415 and M20 grade, right? If you observe this problem here, they are given as sectional properties. So from here to here, these are the sectional properties, okay, and is the area of steel, and these are given a material properties. Along with this material properties, given span of the beam, and we have to calculate maximum load. So it is comes under type 2 problem. Along with the maximum load, we have to calculate what is the moment of resistance. So let us go to in detail of the problem. Thickness of flange is given is 100 mm. Width of the web is 250 mm. Effective width of the flange directly given, that is 1500 mm. Effective depth is 500, is not directly given to you as effective depth, and effective length is 5 meters. Area of steel given is 804 mm. So let us draw the T-beam here to indicate these values. So this is 1500, this is 1500, right? And this is D of 100, and this is BW is how much? 250 mm, and effective depth is given. This is from here to here. Here we have a center of tensile reinforcement. This is effective depth, so that is 500, right? This is 500. What else given? And the span is given, that is 500 meter, and here AST direct in terms of area of steel given, that is 804 mm square, and this cover also given. This effective cover is 40 mm. So if you want to know what is the overall depth, capital D is D equal to this 500 plus 500 plus 40, that equal to 540 is the overall depth. Clear? Right. So with this input data, we have to calculate what is the maximum load and what is the moment of resistance. So let us assume that our neutral axis falls in flange, and the depth of neutral axis we can calculate compressive force equal to tensile force, and after solving that we will get one formula, and that is 0.87 Fi AST by 0.36 F second B. Now substitute Fi is 415, AST is 804, FCK is 20, BF is 1500. The XU we get is 26.88 mm. Now compare our DF and XU so that our to check our assumption. DF is 100 mm, XU is 26.88, so our DF is greater than XU, so our neutral axis falls in flange, so I can call our assumption is correct here. So what we assumed for that is correct. Now we have to decide what type of section it is. That is depends upon limiting depth of neutral axis. For given grade of steel, the limiting depth of neutral axis according to the IS 456 2000, the formula given is 0.48 into D. Now D is the effective depth, that is 500 mm. From that we'll get 240 mm is the XU max. Now compare your XU and XU max. Your XU max is greater than XU, so we can call it as a under reinforced section, right? Then calculate the moment of resistance for this. So we can calculate with respect to tension zone or a compression zone. Here I am calculating with respect to the compression zone. So FCK is 20, BF is given to you, that 1500, XU is 26.88 and D is 500, and for 0.40 is 4 to 4, it is given in problem. XU equal to 26.8. The moment of resistance we get is 141.88 kilonewton into meter. Now in addition to this, we have to calculate what is the maximum load that it can bear. So we know that for maximum load or the safe load, we know the factored bending moment. First we have to calculate the factored bending moment. As we are analyzing a simply supported beam, and what type of load we have to calculate? It is a uniformly distributed load. When a simply supported beam subjected to uniformly distributed load, then the factored bending moment will occur at the midspan region of this, and this is the factored bending moment. We will get the maximum bending moment here, that is equal to WL square by 8. That value is what? This value is equal to WL square by 8. These things we have discussed, or you might have learned in our strength of material topic when you are calculating shear force and bending moment for different types of beams, especially when we are discussing about simply supported beam. You may come across this condition, that WL square by 8, and as we are calculating factored bending moment, so we have to substitute factored load, that is WL square by 8. In this problem, L is given to you, right, that is 5, so W into 5 square by 8, that will give 3.125 WU. This is a factored bending moment which is likely to come onto the beam, right? This same amount of beam must be restricted our beam, that is called a moment of resistance. So we have to equate the factored bending moment to the moment of resistance that we have already calculated previous slide. So now equate this. 3.125 W is equal to 141.88, then W is equal to 141.88 by 3.125, will get 45.4 kilonewton per meter. For this UDL, will get that moment of resistance. Okay, so that's all for today's class. Thank you.